It would be generous to say that the quality of video games based on TV show varies. I have gotten enjoyment out of games like The Simpsons Hit and Run, but for the most part, just like games based on films, games based on TV shows are pretty terrible. However, during 2012 people were pleasantly surprised by the Walking Dead game developed by Telltale Games. It was critically acclaimed and was many people's game of the year. The game was technically linked to the Walking Dead comics, so it was ultimately decided to make a second Walking Dead games for the fans of the TV series. I really enjoy the TV series, so I was interested. However, when the Walking Dead Survival Instinct was released, it was panned by critics and fans alike. This increased my interest even more, as I was curious to see what made this game so bad. So after playing through it, how was Survival Instinct? Does it work as a Walking Dead game separate from the Telltale Games, or are all the critics right on this one? Let's have a look. The story is that a guy called Daryl is travelling across America during a zombie outbreak to both find his brother Mel and to find a safe place from the zombies. The story takes place before the TV show does, and it was cool to see what Daryl and Meryl were doing before they met the rest of the group. The story is decent, but what lets it down is the cutscenes and dialogue. The cutscenes feel very out of place and rushed, which makes it hard to get invested in what's going on. For example, you arrive at one location with Merle, and what happens is that Merle wanders off because he has something else to deal with, and you decide to go after him. This is the cutscene you get explaining this.
Stay here.
What?
It feels lazy, and it's pretty jarring for someone trying to follow what's happening. You also meet other survivors along the way who each have their own side stories. I like the idea of adding these in, but again they're not presented well, and it's all very standard zombie stuff. Survival Instinct is a first-person shooter, although you don't use guns that often. Due to how limited the ammo is, most of the time you'll be using the melee weapons. You get different melee weapons such as a baseball bat and a fire axe, but Daryl will always have his knife that you can take down zombies with in 4 slashes. The melee combat is very basic. You can either slash normally or hold down the button for a more powerful stab. You can also shove zombies back if they get close, and you also can get an instant kill by approaching a zombie from behind. The combat isn't terrible, as despite it being pretty basic, the range of weapons does keep it interesting. The problem with it though is that you just have your knife for the first half of the game. When killing zombies with the knife, they just walk up to you and you stand there and slash at them. It doesn't feel interactive enough to be engaging. Luckily the other weapons are a lot more fun to use. With the fire axe you can kill zombies in one if you use your more powerful swing, and it's very satisfying to use. Something that can be annoying when fighting walkers is that they can hit you in very cheap ways. They will flail their arms at you if they get close, and sometimes you can take damage when really the zombie wasn't that close to you. Another way a zombie can attack you is by grabbing you, which you then have to fight it off. I'll be honest, I didn't really understand how it worked. If you press ZR at the right time you kill the zombie straight away, but normally I just kept tapping the attack button until the zombie got off. It has the same problem as the rest of the combat. It doesn't feel that interactive, so it should feel tense when a zombie grabs you, but it simply doesn't. The game's subtitle is Survival Instinct, and everything in this game comes down to survival. In the core gameplay it means that most of the time you'll be using stealth to get through levels. Each area is littered with zombies, however you can only effectively take out zombies when it's one-on-one. This means you have to take out zombies both quietly and quickly, which makes playing through this game quite satisfying. What makes this all work is the AI of the zombies, as they do act very similar to how zombies would act. Their only real advantage against you is just how many there are, as they are very stupid. They do react to loud sounds, such as you firing your gun, and they will relentlessly come after you if they spot you. It means you're rewarded for being smart and not allowing yourself to get sloppy. The only complaint I have with the stuff is the fact that the zombies respawn. It isn't a major problem, as when you clear out an area, zombies won't reappear unless you completely leave it, but there are times I cleared out a section only to have a load more zombies just show up straight away. Also, there are certain points in levels where zombies are purposely placed behind a door or wall so that they will grab you. Game developers seem to love to have things jump out at you, but it doesn't make sense in this game. The game is fun because you have to be smart to get through it, so having a zombie grab you and you lose health because of it due to no fault of your own kind of ruins the experience. Survival isn't just a part of core gameplay, as it plays a role everywhere else. You spend the game travelling across America, but you need resources as you go. You need fuel for your car, food which acts as healing items, and weapons and ammo to fight off walkers. Each area you arrive at as you travel, there'll be fuel, food and ammo scattered throughout it. It's cool as scavenging for resources does act on a risk versus reward system. Sure, you can fully explore a house or a shop, but you don't know if there's anything there, and there's a good chance that a zombie will spot you, which could potentially cause a horde to chase you. Between each location you can decide to either take the back roads, the streets or the highways to get there. The back roads consumes more fuel, but there's a higher chance you'll stop at a location to find supplies, and the highways consumes a lot less fuel, but there's a higher chance that your car will break down, meaning you will need to stop at a location and find the necessary car part. This is a really great idea, but the execution of all this is a bit off. When going in between levels, there is only one location to find supplies and a different location to find a car part. This is fine at first, but later on in the game, if you're low on fuel, you will end up stopping at the exact same areas multiple times while travelling, as it's random whether you stop or not. Also, when you run out of fuel, you have to stop at a location, which resulted in me having to go to an area 3 times when going from one of the main levels to the next. I wouldn't say it kills the game, but it can lead to a lot of downtime when all you want to do is play the next proper level. During the game you come across other survivors. If you complete their specific side missions, then they become part of your group. Your car only has a certain number of seats though, so you have to decide who is the most useful. The reason you want survivors around is because during the main levels you can send survivors off to look for either food, fuel or ammo. There's a chance they won't return, but you can increase their chances of survival by sending them as a group or giving them weapons. This is all a nice idea, but it's ultimately pointless. They never find enough supplies for them to be that useful, and you have to use up supplies to make sure they're fit to go and find supplies. All of the survivors' side stories all end once you recruit them, and you can't use them as backup during levels, so the survival system feels like a waste of time. The graphics of the game could have been better. I wouldn't say they're terrible, more inconsistent. Sometimes the game can look pretty nice, but other times you can just see there wasn't enough time spent on the graphics. I got used to them after playing the game for a bit though, so unless you love impressive graphics, then it's not really a big deal. A technical problem that does bring the game down though is the loading. The loading times are too long to be ignored, and the fact that there's a good number of loading screens due to the game's structure doesn't help the whole experience. I was playing the Wii U version of the game, so maybe they were longer because the Wii U does have long load times, but I would guess that it's more about the fact that the game was rushed. Speaking of the Wii U, there aren't many exclusive features that make the Wii U version stand out. You can play the game with just the gamepad, which is nice, and the gameplay displays your inventory as you play the game, so you can use the screen as a quick select. It's all well and good that it's there, but I also played the game using the Wii U Pro controller, and I had no problems going through inventory without the gamepad. There isn't anything wrong with the Wii U version, but it definitely doesn't integrate the gamepad to the same degree that Zombi U did. The Walking Dead Survival Instinct is a game that overall I enjoyed. I really liked its approach to the zombie genre, and there's some great ideas here. Saying that, the game is definitely rough around the edges. The ideas could have been executed better. It doesn't make the game bad, it just means that it could have been improved greatly. I can see why it got bad reviews. The graphics aren't great, it was following the Telltale game, and it was published by Activision. I do say though, if you have some interest in this game, then check it out. It won't be your game of the year, but it can be enjoyable. My score is 6.0 out of 10. Survival Instinct's take on zombies make this game stand out, but unfortunately due to how rushed it feels, it isn't as good as it should have been.